Welcome to the Huntsman Podcast, where we talk about the lessons learned down in the timber, successes and mistakes that made us better, and we just tell you some stories that you ain't fitting to hear anywhere else. I'm JJ Lawhorn, country music singer, Davy Crockett reincarnated, and I am the Huntsman. This podcast is about more than just hunting, y'all. It's about the mindset, the discipline, and the respect for the outdoors that comes with earning your place in it. And whether you're a lifelong hunter or you're just getting started, my goal is simple: to share real experiences, hard-earned knowledge, and honest conversations that help you become a better outdoorsman and a better person. So grab you a cup of coffee, settle in, we fit to make a drive. Welcome to the Huntsman Podcast. My name is JJ Lawhorn, and this is the Huntsman Podcast, powered by Bird Dog Mafia, Phillips Outdoors, and Ancient Footwear. I'm going to go ahead and give praise and glory to the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Jesus Christ, because he's the reason why you're here. He's the reason I'm here. He's the reason why there's game running around in the timber to be hunting in the first place. And he is the reason why there is timber out there for the game to run around in. Y'all, we're going to bring God into the podcast, man. He's going to be in there continually, because I believe that if you can't bring God into the conversation, then typically it ain't a conversation worth having. So that's just what it is, man. But before we get to preaching or anything, we're going to go ahead and talk about what we're going to talk about on this podcast, man. We're going to talk about all things hunting, all manners, methods, and means. We're going to cut the crap, cut the BS, man. We're just going to shoot it to you straight. And I'm going to give you some of my firsthand experience and some of the wisdom that I have stored up, and it was passed down from hard-won trials and tribulations. It was also passed down from old-timers that were willing to share hard-earned wisdom. And it was a combination of a lot of outdoor experiences that God blessed me with. And I'm going to share some of these stories and some of these things that have helped me continually be successful in any environment that I've gone out there and set my hand to. So y'all get ready, man. We only a minute and 40 seconds in, but we about to turn on the burners. And I think that there ain't no better place to start if we're going to talk about hunting. I don't care whether you're a novice or a veteran. We're going to talk about good woodsmanship first. You know, everybody out there I see that's trying to get into hunting, and it's all trendy and this, that, and other, whatever. They want to be big buck killer 5,000. However, show me a good squirrel hunter and I'll show you a good deer hunter, man. That dude that's out there who granddaddy taught to cut his teeth on the squirrels, that guy, he's somebody who can kill a big buck every year. You know, if he chooses to and he goes out there and puts time into it, he'll kill a big buck every year. Maybe kills a couple. Maybe he travels to every other daggum state that you've ever heard of, and he whacks more than a couple. I don't know. But that's just what it is, y'all. Because back in the day, opening day of squirrel season was just as exciting in some places as the opening day of deer season. In some places, it was more exciting. Them old timers, they knew the wisdom of putting them young cats down there on some squirrels. And as they're out there scanning the land for the squirrels, they're learning what they need to know to become a good woodsman. You know, good woodsmanship is a combination of a lot of things. It's not just, you know, one or two things that we can notch it down to. It ain't that. It's so many dimensions and levels to it, and you could spend your whole life becoming the ultimate woodsman and still not scratch the surface in some regards to somebody who's already done it. You know, it's a humbling thing. I think to be a true huntsman, you got to just agree that you're never going to learn it all. You got to always be a student of the outdoors. You got to always be somebody who's willing to take advice from people. I think that if I just said, well, I know it all, then I would have never become as good of a hunter as I am today. And that's just me saying that honestly. I know at one point in time, I didn't want to take instruction more than some of the other times in my life, because I did have a little chip on my shoulder. I thought that I might have known a little bit more than some of the people that were trying to give me some advice or instruction. But don't be like that, y'all. Don't get caught up in that. And I'm glad it didn't take me long to see the error in my ways, because you will have a fall. You know, pride cometh before a fall. And I lost 6 months of sleep after missing probably the biggest buck that I've ever seen and maybe might ever see. And I could have made that shot in my dreams. And that's what happens, is you have a scenario in which something happens, it goes awry, and it was because of your conceitedness that you didn't bring more than 1 hour to take another shot, as he stands there and just doesn't have no clue what's going on when you done missed, because you done dropped your weapon and broke your bow and made every rookie novice mistake that you could ever make, even though you're not a novice. You know, a lot of people aren't willing to say, hey, I've done made mistakes. I can tell you, don't you put a T-handle release on a bow and hold it with one hand because your hand's so freezing like this, because if the wind is whipping, you might just have your bow sling over and knock your T-handle and have that thing go fall out the stand. Somebody out there has had that happen too. You know, it just so happens that probably had a part in costing me a monster buck. You know, I caught the bow, but I knocked a little clip off of the side of the cam right there, holds the cam on, and there's cables that hold the tension beside the daggone cam. I'm telling you, dude, the thing unspun. I had to sit there, compress it, put that thing back on. I had no clip to hold that cable on the side of that pin. Drew that thing halfway back. 10 minutes later, saw the biggest deer I ever seen in my life. Shot that arrow, went straight down like that. Yeah, you want to talk about making mistakes? I've made plenty of them, but I've also had a lot of successes because God is good. You know, He's got to show us sometimes you got to fail before you're broken down enough to really understand and appreciate the successes that God's going to have for you in the end. So I think that the success is the overall experience rather than, you know, a trophy set of antlers. Woo, I'm telling you, we got to remember where we came from. We can't get carried away in this whole shebang of look at me, look at me, look at me, look at what I can do, look at what I can do. Man, it's almost like these people are making themselves like a god, you know. I'm the, you know, and that's what it is. It's a disease, man. It's evil, you know. What it is we are stewards of the land. God has given us the blessing of nature. And He said, hey, look here. This is all yours. Go marvel at it. Go see my glory. Go see my splendor every single time you walk out the door and into the woods. But if we don't give praise and glory to the one who put it there in the first place, then we don't realize we're supposed to be not only appreciative of the blessing, but we're supposed to give praise and thanks and appreciation to the blessing giver. Man, we got to be good stewards of the land, y'all. We got to be good stewards of the land. God wants us to manage it correctly. We don't want to get overzealous. We don't want to take too much, and we don't want to not take enough and not do our part. You gotta have that balance. You gotta have, you know, the morals and the values and the principles of a good person to truly do what God intended us to do here on earth as a huntsman, as a provider, as a manager of the land. Come on. We go get into it too now. Now, look at here. It takes time to become a good woodsman. We're going to talk a little bit more about it, but one of the things that I'd say speaks to just how complex it is, even though it sounds pretty shortened when I say it like this. It's like one of the things you need to learn, and more people need to talk about, is learning the land and how it dictates what the animals do. Now, the animal, he can do whatever he wants to a certain extent. But if he's a deer, he can't just jump off a cliff and survive it. If he wants to keep living, he's going to stay away from that cliff. So there's things in nature that God put there that are limitations. And a lot of them come from the terrain. Some of them come from the plants and foliage and the swamps and the different things that make it hard to travel. Sometimes an animal don't really want to travel through it, but he will if he's got to. But sometimes there's no way to escape. He can't jump off that cliff unless he's a mountain goat and he can shimmy down the side of it or something. He ain't finna do it. So we got all these things that come as parameters from nature, naturally, the way that God designed it. And we need to learn how that affects the animals and how it forces them to do what they can and can't do. We have to start to understand why he would do this, why he would do that, why he likes to do this, why he likes to do that. It's almost like this game Sudoku. I don't know if y'all have ever messed with it. I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but my lady plays this game, and it's like, putting 1 through 9 in 9 different boxes. And you have to use the numbers that they put there on the puzzle to figure out through the process of deduction, what number goes where. And that's a lot like hunting. I mean, to be a real good woodsman, to be a real good hunter, you really have to solve the puzzle. One of the things of being a good woodsman is knowing all the other animals that are in that similar habitat and how they go back and forth with that game that you're hunting. For example, you're in the woods and you hear a blue jay squawking. Oh, get ready. That might be that big buck getting ready to walk down through there. A lot of times he's an alarm. He lets out a certain call when he's seeing something. So it's very deep, y'all. I mean, it's not just as simple as, hey, we'll cut it up to this and whatever. But all the things that make up being a good woodsman make it the hunter's best asset. Some of them people that are conditioned seasoned hunters need to go back and shoot a few groundhogs. Some of y'all need to go back there and shoot some squirrels too. Y'all need to get in the woods more. Some of y'all got to work on your aim. Come on. I mean, I'm just being real with you. We all need to shoot some squirrels. We all need to go out there and go on a good coon hunt. There's all these things that are out there that help us continually get reps in to helping us burn this into our brain and into our muscle memory forever. That way, the killing part, that's the shortest part in the whole shebang, it's not something that goofs up. It's just regimental, or got them. That's just what it is. You got to work on it. You can't just expect to always succeed or continually succeed more times than not if you ain't out there putting the boots on the ground, man. Now, I think that a lot of people are scared of making mistakes. They buy all the best gear. They're out there, in their Sitkas and their fancy stuff. And I think that a lot of people need to benefit from the pawn shop mentality. You don't need no $9,000 bow with every kind of cryptochronicle sight on that thing. Down there to the pawn shop and get you a $75 daggum late 90s, early 2000s Matthews special. Put some new strings on it, peep sight, whisker biscuit. Get you an old tube to hook the peep sight up to the cable and whatever. You be in business. Start humming that thing in some hay bales. Woo, buddy! But that old timey woodsmanship, learning the land, learning how it dictates what the animals do and what they can do, what they can't do. Learning the biology of the animal, learning the animals that really don't like or really do like or like to tell on the animal that you're after. Sometimes the animal that you see first is an animal that likes to be around the one that you're hunting. Like a lot of times you see some quail, and shortly thereafter, you would kill a bunch of rabbits if you was in there rabbit hunting. You wouldn't walk up to a property that you was rabbit hunting and see a bunch of quail flush out of wherever you just chuck the dogs in and think, oh yeah, we ain't finna kill no rabbits today. Now you going, yeah, dude, this place is gonna be awesome. Goodbye, 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 and you shooting because it's good habitat. There's things that are signs that we learn along the way that are going to let us know, is this worth spending my time on? Is this a place where I can find where I'm at, what I'm after? Can I go here to find what I'm after? Interesting thoughts. And I know for sure that doing all the small game hunting that I did growing up and hunting with dogs, as a team, other people as a team, and the dogs as a team, that definitely enriched my mind, definitely helped me to learn to be a better hunter. I think that a lot of folks don't realize how good most houndsmen are as all-around hunters, because I think that most still hunters or guys that hunt critters with a one singular traditional method that don't involve some sort of dog hunting teamwork, I think they don't realize how much you can learn from seeing an animal in escape mode. I think a lot of people, they only see a deer get spooked when they jump them up running in, going in the morning or trying to get to the stand or something, or when they're up there in the stand and the deer smells them and they run away. But when an animal is being pursued, he acts different. When he knows he's being run down, chased, he acts different. And I think that if you understand how people that are houndsmen that hunt with dogs, whether it's rabbits or raccoons or bear or squirrel or deer, when an animal knows it's being pursued, it acts different. So we're seeing a different spectrum. We're seeing a different gear in that thing's mind, a different cog turning, if you will. And it starts to unravel its secrets, whatever game it is that you're chasing. And some game is smarter than others. But you get to hunting things like bear and deer and stuff, and it will blow your mind, all these little tricks that you learn when they're being pursued. And that helps you become a better still hunter if you choose to still hunt. I know most of the great still hunters in my state where I come from, which I say where I come from is probably the most pressured state hunting-wise in the whole country. I could be wrong, but I'm biased. It's where I'm from, and I've gone every other place that I've ever gone hunting, and I've never found a place that I thought had more hunting pressure. Now, for a place that I couldn't run dogs, I've been to a couple states where I thought, man, this is some serious pressure that they got out on this public land. But I never thought ever once going anywhere else that the pressure completely equated to the way these animals act generationally pressured. Like since the white man came off the boat, chucking out dogs, hunting off a horseback, shooting the big lightning bolt. Ever since then, man, they've been putting pressure on them right there in central Virginia, in coastal Virginia. So that's what it is. These deer and these game through them parts, they just different. And to hunt them and have a good foundation where you're hunting in sparsely populated areas where not only are they thin, but they are so smart. Because to survive, they have to evade not only every other still hunter and not every other person trying to get down there on the public land, because they want to kill one deer. They want to kill one deer that year. Oh my goodness. All of a sudden, you got people in there running dogs to get them out. That guy over there, that's the still hunter, he's praying to God that the dog hunters are going to run him one, because he'd never dog hunted before and he don't even like it, but he sure would like to shoot a deer because he's been still hunting the whole year and he ain't killed one yet. That's the climate right there, y'all. That's the climate, and it's wild. You got the still hunters out there. Sometimes when I was growing up, you'd have some still hunters out there just pissed off somebody down there running dogs, and the dogs come through their spread, jump up a big buck, and push it over there across to somewhere else where somebody else is hunting, and they shoot it, But it could just as soon as go where that deer that somebody's never seen before is running out in front of them dogs, and it goes on somebody's land. They go, "Goodbye," and they kill it, and they go, "Man, I hated dog hunters until today. Now can I join your hunt club?" I mean, it's a rare bird as far as environments go to grow up in, because you got a love and a hate. You got a cultural tradition and a heritage that is a pure thing. But you also got, people who can't stand it, for whatever reason. And so you got a good mix of all kinds of pressure, man, from people, from the dogs, from, the still hunters. I mean, it's wild. So anyways, to speak more about that, the cultural tradition and heritage of deer hunting with dogs and fox hunting and hunting bear and hunting squirrels and rabbits and raccoons and so on and so forth, turkeys and coyotes. I mean, there's the list goes on. But that whole tradition of hunting with dogs, especially for foxes and deer, has always been a big thing in Virginia. And it goes back before guys like George Washington, but I say, in the 1700s, George Washington, he became a pretty iconic American. He's one of our forefathers. He's the first president of the United States of America. And it's pretty cool growing up in a place where around every tree, there was a placard that had a historical sign, and there was historical buildings, and there was, Robert E. Lee tied his horse up to this tree, and Patrick Henry, he stood down there at that courthouse, and you had all these different things that were going on historic down off in them parts when I was growing up, and I wanted to be in it because it was alive. It was all around me. And so I went back and I did the research, and I got excited when I was passionate as a kid about hunting with dogs and history, and all of a sudden, one of the founding fathers of our country, he's a houndsman. Are you kidding me? He had all these funny names for his dogs. He took all these awesome diaries and logs, if you will, of his hunts and how many foxes they caught that day, and just all the details that you wouldn't believe, man. I mean, a lot of people aren't taking the time to write journals anymore of what it is that they're doing with their breeding programs and what they're doing with their, with their hunts on the daily, and the dogs that they like out of this litter and the ones they don't, and all, so on and so forth, man. I mean, you might have these thoughts a lot to yourself, but to actually put them on paper and do it in a formal way that was nice and was neat and was structured for a way to have other people really latch on to that information, that's pretty cool. And I found that out as a young man, having mentors and people that were in the hound hunting community, older gentlemen, in their 80s, 70s and 80s, and almost even in their 90s when I was a young man. They were saying, okay, here's a kid that's got a burning passion, and he ain't a complete dumbass. He's got a passion for this, and we're going to teach him some of these things that we know that might excite him even more. And that's what they did. They not only taught me how to hunt with the hounds, and showed me my family cultural traditions, but they taught me the history of it. So I like to pass that on. I mean, there's a lot of really cool stories in relation to how George Washington helped develop a lot of the foundational dogs for a lot of American breeds of dogs, like the American Black and Tan Coon Hound and the American Foxhound. And so you've got these guys coming from abroad, bringing whatever hunting power that they had dog-wise over there, and they're meeting all kinds of people from all around the world, and they're mixing what they got in there with the best of the best, that they brought over across the pond. And man, they had some critter getting machines, and a lot of that stuff is why we have anything that's any good anymore. And a lot of it's changed. It's been bred down. Some of it's better than it was. But I'm saying the foundational breeds, a lot of those breeds came from guys like George Washington. You had all-American stuff because once we've been formed a country, hey, okay, now what do you got? It's funny. It's like you got Lafayette, who was George Washington's friend, the Frenchman. You got Lafayette. He's over there, and dadgummit, he's bringing French hounds over here to bring George Washington to show him the best of what he's got after he helped us whoop the British in the war. Interesting, man. You got all kinds of people that were passionate about it. They're coming over to a new country. They're bringing the best of what they got. They're meeting all these other different people. They're throwing it together. You had the Plott family. You had several families that were immigrants that brought high-powered dogs across the pond. Some of those dogs didn't ever survive to end up becoming something that was American, iconic, whatever kind of hound. But some of those dogs were mixed into what eventually became something that you got out behind the barn, which is wild. And I've always been passionate about that stuff. I've always been a believer that they're old hayseed country dogs that somebody's uncle kept breeding down with, old Ricky Bobby across the way there, whose great granddaddy knew cousin Joe and whatever. They got these old bloodlines that they're preserving and being a steward of, and that's a lot of times what I would say is some of the best stuff that's in existence. You got this old black man, he'd go out there and pleasure hunt his whole life and never go to a competition, but he could just as easily hand that hound to somebody else, probably, and that hand to go out there and spank everybody else, or if he wanted to, he could carry that hound to a hunt and go out there and spank everybody. And that's just what it is. A lot of people don't want to accept that. I've even had people make fun of me for saying that and acting like, because they got a stopwatch and they can go time their dog running 2 minutes and 30 seconds to tree a coon, that their dog's the best, greatest dog on earth. But see, old men, they were smart. They knew that these dogs, they all had a different toolbox. They were all a different tool, I should say. And on certain nights, you needed a screwdriver. And on certain nights, you needed a daggum freaking hammer to hammer in some nails. I explain it like this. It's like wet paint. When you put wet paint down on the wall or on the floor or whatever, you smell it. But as time goes on, it starts to dissipate. That certain kinds of dogs, are better and are pros at working drier paint than others, essentially. And some dogs can smell both dry paint really well as can smell wet paint. Some dogs that can smell dry paint really well, it just blows them out the water when they smell too much wet paint. It's overwhelming. That's just a quick example of how these different dogs that were bred different ways with different genetic backgrounds and different qualities, some of them possessed tools that other ones didn't, and some of those people's dogs that were a screwdriver wasn't as good as another dog that was a screwdriver. Sometimes you needed a long screwdriver. Sometimes you needed a dog that could not only have a cold nose and could go out there and tree a coon on a cold night, full moon night, freezing outside in the daggum snow, but you also might need one that really was a big hound that could have some crunching power. He'd be the long screwdriver. He'd just go ahead and crunch down one time on that thing and kill it so it doesn't maim the other dog that ain't got the guts. So you got all these different things that make each dog a different tool. And some dogs are a daggum multi-tool. I should say it like that, But it's an interesting thing, man. All these different conditions on the night, You know, if you're hunting coons or if you're hunting deer with dogs, you know, we've been talking about that. It's wild. Like, some dogs could be the greatest dog pack you've ever seen, but under certain scent conditions, on the wrong day, on the wrong piece of the ground, they could just look awful. So everybody's wants to talk about they got the best dogs, and everybody wants to argue and stuff like this. Y'all need to quit that crap. You need to be a good representation of what it is that we do culturally and traditionally. We are all representing our traditions. So if you're seeing this and you're a houndsman, you represent us. And so if you do something stupid, we all look stupid. So don't make us look stupid. Yeah, we take a lot of pride, most folks though, in our dogs, and that's why people liking to get into bragging and everything else about who's got the best and competing and whatever. I see pure competition, and I understand that, but I see a lot of people that get lost in the sauce trying to get the trucks and the money and the whatever it is that they're after, instead of wanting to just see whose dog is the best and celebrate that dog. I might as well just give that dog a nice jacket, a coat it can wear or something in the wintertime, instead of trying to give somebody a $100,000 truck. Just my opinion. I like to see good dogs run, but I've never been the kind of person that needed a trophy. I like to hear them sing the song. I like live music. I like live performance. Come on, that's it. I don't care about the trophy. But hey, if you got the champion coon dog, I ain't knocking you for doing it. I think it's cool, especially if you ain't an ego tripping person and you're fair and calling it fair and being honest with it. I got a lot of friends that do it that ways, but they also have a lot of the irritation when people are dishonest because their ego and their pride's getting in the way. We gotta get away from our pride as outdoorsmen. We've got to be people that are humble and show folks the reason why they should go out there and take part in managing God's creation like He told us to. You know, somebody, I can't remember who this was, but they said, I can't remember who told me this, but somebody said, man, yeah, I was talking to Nick Munt, and he said something about, you know, if my kid ever gets separated from me, I told her, find somebody in the camouflage hat. And that hit me in the heart, because I got a little girl, man. And I thought, you know, she was separating in the crowd. What would I tell her? Who should she go to first? And I thought that was a pretty cool way of not only teaching his daughter, like, hey, this is where you should go, but like, this is why, because I'm a hunter and I'm an outdoorsman and I'm somebody who's faced with important decisions that hold the power of life and death a lot over the course of my life. And somebody who's like that, they are able to protect my daughter more so, if I can't, than anyone else. They're able to help her find me. They'll do that more than anyone else. And I thought, man, that's some real talk right there. I'm like, Nick Munt said that? I'm like, ain't no way he said that? They're like, yeah. I'm like, all right, dog, I'm about to shed a tear over here. I'm like, that's some real talk. That's some real talk. I want to see people out there. I want to see people out there in a camouflage hat, not because they need one to go kill a deer. Hopefully you don't need anything but a pair of blue jeans to go out there in a plaid shirt to shoot a deer. We'll get into that in a while. But I mean, I'm just saying, hopefully you wearing a camouflage hat because you letting people know you're an outdoorsman and you're like proud of it. And if somebody needs help, they'd come to you just like they would come down there to the police officer if they weren't afraid, you know, or the firefighter if they needed help. They seen somebody that's in a uniform, you know, if they're raised to appreciate law enforcement and stuff, they'll go run down there to them to get help. Call 911 to get help. But you get lost in the crowd or something's gone wrong and you don't know, something bad happens, Find a man in a camouflage hat. Shout out Nick Munt. I like that. I like that, man, because it speaks to who we are as people. Not only am I going to teach my daughter, hey, if you need to, find somebody like me, but why? Because we are people that are used to seeing things die. We're used to dealing with real situation. So-and-so fell off the bluff, man, trying to get up there to the tree, and he broke his leg. Oh, he fell in a well. We got to get him out. We got to climb the tree. Most people ain't going through stuff like this. Like if you're a EMS, emergency responder, stuff like that, you probably see a little bit more of what we see. But if you're an outdoorsman, you spend your life out there on a farm and ranching, and being out there in crazy terrains and 11,000 foot mountain and whatever, you see all kinds of stuff. You see kneecap go halfway up somebody's thigh because he done placed his foot wrong in between a couple of rocks and he won't thinking. You see all kinds of things, and it teaches you. It teaches you a lot. You got to be humble. We got to be humble, y'all. We can't be out here trying to brag. We got to use the knowledge. We got to use the experience that's made us tough and capable men and women. And we got to be the kind of people that have the right morals and the right values and the right capabilities to help when things are awry. Because we see how often something that's good can go awry in the outdoors. You over there thinking you big bad buck hunter 5,000, and then a storm sets in and you ain't got no super duper sleeping bag like you thought you did, and it don't really do that good when it's wet because it ain't waterproof, and you didn't bring no tent liner, and your little wimpy tent is falling in and you're freezing to death up there on the mountain, and now you're a liability, and they called the law. Your lady called the law because they ain't heard from you because you ain't checked in and all this don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. I told myself, I'll never be that guy. I'm not going to be that guy. Things can happen, but you got to slow down. You got to stop. You got to stop what you're doing, man, and realize that in some hunts, every single step could be your last. People do not realize this. And that's how they become a liability. They don't do the planning. They don't put the work in. They don't do what you got to do. If you're passionate enough about it, you will do what you got to do to be successful in that endeavor. And that's why I'm sitting here talking to the camera for 43 minutes and 52 seconds tonight to start this thing off. I thought about a couple different ways to do it. I thought about laying it all out like this and that. And I'm like, you know what? No, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to talk about it because I'm passionate about it. I can speak about this for 45 minutes about a different topic every single night of the daggum year if I got to. It'd be easier if there was somebody sitting here on the other side of the table instead of me sitting here looking at Robo thing, even though I know I'm talking to y'all and I got to frame my mind that a ways. It's hard for old hayseed country boy. But I've got the lights, I've got the camera, I've got all this stuff. Why? Because I'm hunting success. Just like you're going to go out there and hunt success. But don't go hiking up a 11, 12,000 foot mountain without doing the homework. Don't go up the mountain not taking the time to carefully place your feet to test things, to do your extra due diligence. I see these young guys all the time. They finally are successful and they start to become little killers, and they're going out there and they're whacking and stacking, but they got a coyote rotting in the back of the truck, and I'm going, what are you doing, man? What is this thing rotting in the back of your truck for? Why did you peel the hide off of it? Why didn't you take that thing and make a skull mount of it? Why didn't you mount the coyote in the first place? Why didn't you save it so that you could take a squirrel that you shot that was albino or something and stick it in the thing's mouth and have it hanging up on your wall one day? Why don't you go a little further? If it's because of money, well, do you got a little time? Do you got a little effort that you can put in? Because you can make some cool things. You can make some cool keepsakes, have some cool mementos to enrich your mind and bring it back to those memories and those outdoor experiences that you had man, you need to do it. You need to do it. And I push it on these kids because I'm like, dude, this ain't the way. Like, yeah, show it off when you go through town to get your biscuit. You know, you got to go and put it on the back of the truck where everybody can see it, throw it on the dog box, whatever. Do that. You know, that's your 14, 15-year-old kid thing. We all did that. Ride the thing through town if you got to, man. But do something with it. Like, don't just waste it, man. Don't let it sit in the back of the truck for 3 days to where you can't peel the hide off it no more. Don't do that, man. Don't be that kid. Come on. We got to teach a good foundation. We're not going to waste things. You know, you had to eat what you shot. And if you was out there shooting Tweety birds and you weren't going to eat them, well, then your daddy's going to make you pluck that thing and eat that thing. Because then you won't go shoot a bunch of Tweety birds no more. You just go shoot something that tasted a little bit better. That's just what it is. You had to learn those lessons at a young age, man. And you got to make sure that when you're the teacher, or if you are the student yourself, that you make the right decisions, man. Because, you know, if you're an adult student, you ain't got nobody to smack your hand a lot of times if you're doing it on your own. But here's the thing. Go and learn from other people that are good at what you want to do. You know, yeah, learn some of the stuff that I'm going to tell you. Go out there and apply it. And then also find people around you that you like to be around. People that you enjoy spending time with that are good at what you are trying to be good at. It's as simple as that. You know, down there, one of the things that I wanted to talk about is these old boys down there where I'm from, man, they're hard. They are hard on the game. I mean, buddy, they are just mean machines, boys. They are hard on them. When I was growing up, there was this one old boy down there in Southern Virginia, and I just could not believe the deer that this guy would kill. And he would kill these deer and he'd just hang the rack on an old fence post or hang it off the side of one of these fancy ornamental steel columns or whatever that's out there by his garage. Lord have mercy, that thing was just sitting there 25 inches of all his glory, 27 inches of all his glory, just sitting there on a daggum fence post, hanging up on a daggum garage post. I'm going, ain't no way. You ain't killed that thing. Where'd you find that thing? But then there's so many of them, I'm going, whoa, what daggum, where'd this one come from? Where'd that come? Boy, I killed every single one of them deer. I'm going, dude, you ain't no way you killed all these deer. I'm going, ain't no way. They're freaking monsters, all of them. Why wouldn't you mount any of them? Boy, you ought to see the one that broke him off. Yeah, that's what the dude told me one time. I sit there and he goes, oh yeah, you think them deers you seen it was big? What do you think about this one? He had one of these ginormous toolboxes, and this rack was freaking 25 inches wide inside. And I'm going, dude, it's a monster. What? He just cut off at the skull plate. And I said, what's wrong with you, man? I said, well, man, you know, I probably shouldn't have been saying this at 14 years old or whatever I was, because that's kind of like sassing, running off at the mouth to somebody who was a grown old timer. You know, you didn't do that. But I got cheeky and I'm like, man, what in the world is wrong with you? Why would you do that? And he's like, oh yeah, you ain't never seen the one that broke him off. He's 30 inches wide. 30 inches wide. I'm laughing. I'm going, 30 inches wide? Yo, fried, dude. You ain't no deer over there 30 inches wide. I mean, dude, you could have heard a pin drop. Like, all of a sudden, it's like I'd framed him up as a liar. Yeah, you know that place down there at your grandma's? I'm going, ain't no way there's a deer that big over there. Oh, yeah, I've seen him twice. Going, God bless America, 30-inch wide deer. That boy, he will go put it on the wall unless it was 29, 30 inches wide inside. I mean, you know what's crazy? People would say, JJ, that's a lie. That's a horsetail. You know, just a crock of SHIT, you know? Nah. Go look at the Boone and Crockett record books for some of the widest deer in the whole country. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's number 6 right down the street from where that daggum 30-inch deer he was hunting was taken. So, you know, I think that deer is 30. The one that's in the books is like, I don't know, 32 inches wide, 31 or something inside. I don't know. I think he's number 6 in the Boone and Crockett books. But not saying it was the same deer. I don't know. I'm just saying there's viable proof that there are deer that are that large in that region. And right down the road from there, a factual record deer was killed that was that big. So I thought, gosh darn. Once I found that out, I go, well, maybe old Buddy Taylor wasn't lying, you know. Maybe old boy wasn't lying. Yeah. Anyhow, you grew up with a lot of characters, man, hunting, especially in this dog hunting stuff, man. And that's why I say some of the best dog hunters just, I don't even think you could put them in the same category as some of these still hunters. I mean, there's a lot of great still hunters, and they all have their own strategies. This guy hunts the beds. This guy makes the farm, grows the farm up and makes it utopia. And this guy goes and hunts in the city. And this guy, you know, he's over there in the hood. And this guy's over here on the edge of the suburbs. And, you know, I mean, everybody's got their own strategy, how they're doing it. But I'm telling you, I knew guys that did every single one of those things and were dog hunters where I grew up. Dead serious. I knew a guy that was hunting in the cemetery down there in the city limits. Freaking when I was 13, 14 years old, he was sitting there watching them crawl through the cutover like rats and pop out and do a little 25-yard wide oak thicket behind the neighborhood where a whole little cul-de-sac of little black kids was in there slam dunking playing basketball. And you would not believe that if you just went behind one of them ghetto houses and just looked back off at it, and it was ghetto too. I'm talking about you had to lock everything up. You made sure you took everything out your car because, hey, it didn't matter what color you was. They were shooting at anybody. It didn't matter. Most of the people, I guess, lived over in there where they were like Iranian or Iraqi or from different countries. They were brave, man. They was brave to be off in them inner city Richmond spots. But you were talking about big bucks. You were talking about big bucks, man. Woo! And some of these guys, like I say, dog hunters. Dude still hunts too. Yeah, he can't wait till dog season comes in to go out there and hunt. He's gonna go hunt. And if he's going to have to go still hunt, he's going to have to go still hunt where he knows the big bucks are. I mean, it's funny. It's like, if you can't kill him by the time dog season rolls around, we go and kill him by the time dog season runs around. If he still makes it, then he's bad mamma jammer. You know, if he can evade all the whole onslaught of all the seasons, all the different weapons, and then the dog and the man working together. The thing of it is, I will say, a lot of people that deer hunt with dogs, they don't cut it as what I call like a dangerously effective club. I say it's probably like 30 to 70 or like 80 to 20 weekend warriors or like half-hearted club members to, you know, hey, this is a whole club right here in this 20%. This is a whole club of killers. And every single dog they gotta burn the tires off of your freaking race car. Like the thing, look here. That's what it is. It's like if you a well-oiled machine, you in that 20%, 80% is not. They killing some deer, but they ain't killing 50 in a day. You know, multiple days out of the year. When you're getting that kind of pressure and you're getting into curving populations because you're that effective, and you're killing hundreds and hundreds of deer every single season for 20, 30, 40, 50 years in a row, you get to where you actually understand the carrying capacity of large chunks of land. Like this one club I hunt with, they go in there and they'll kill 30 to 50 every single year in this one spot, and then they'll never touch it again for a whole year. And they'll know if they go in there and do the same thing and just don't fart around, next season the same population carrying capacity on the land, there'll be some extra ones that they need to clip, and they'll get their 30, get their 40, and then they won't touch it again for another year. So there's too many people that are the weekend warrior guys are just in there pounding the same stuff, and they just kill a couple stragglers on this day, and they just kill it out until everything that's left in there is just killed or has evacuated. But if you can just learn to manage the land like these old dog hunters have learned to manage the land, that old coon hunter, he ain't going in there and killing all 4 coons that he untreed in one night. Most of the time, if he's not hunting somewhere that's a place full of nuisance raccoons, he's going to go in there, and if there's 2 or 3 up in a tree, he's going to shoot one. He's going to leave the other 2 for another night. So sometimes if there's a lot of them, we're going to kill 4 in one night. And then when we come back, we might not kill any. We might kill 1. You know what I mean? You got to manage what you got based on the carrying capacity of the land and based on the situation, the scenario at hand. That takes wisdom, and it takes the ability to be able to do it. If it calls for a lot of game to be clipped, it takes a lot of precision and a lot of things working together for that to work the correct way, go off without a hitch. Nobody gets shot and everything like that. Man, you talk about stories about growing up. Woo, buddy, I got some fond memories running dogs as a kid. We go tell all kinds of good stories, especially when I get to having all kinds of really cool hosts. I ain't saying we ain't gonna have like somebody like Ted Nugent on here or something like that. I'd like to do that, but we gonna also tell some backcountry bad boy stories too. Some of these people that probably don't need their names floating around or don't care to have their names floating around in the hunting world and whatever, because they just ain't got no ego like that. But I'm gonna get some people on here that are just too good of an outdoorsman to not have some sort of recognition for it outside of just their little local community or the few people that they're hunting buddies with or whatever. Because I know y'all know some people like that as well too, that you're like, man, I don't know how this person's managed to stay hidden. And it's really just because, most of them are really good folks that don't care nothing for recognition or fame from their outdoor experiences. They're just out there living it. They're just out there living it, and that's enough. That's enough for them. And I'm one of those people, man. I do what I do because God brought me into country music as a young man, and I started doing that. God's always had his hand in my life in singing and writing music, and I grew up in the church and eventually started doing this country music, and had this producer scoop me out of the middle of nowhere and take me to Music City and introduce me to all these people, and I started writing this music and got record deals and songwriting deals, and then went down this whole train of having a career at country music, traveling the world and doing all kinds of wild stuff. That brought me into singing music about what I'm passionate about, and that is the outdoors and hunting, and that's a big section of my life because that's a huge cultural tradition where I'm from. So, people sing about what they know or they sing about things that they don't. And I've always been one of those people, I sing about what I know. It might be boring for some folks, but for me, I could spend a whole lifetime talking about hunting. That's why I figured it wouldn't be that bad of a thing to sit here and do a podcast. And if I'm sitting there talking to somebody and having a conversation and they're relating what I'm talking about, I can sit there and jaw with them for hours on end about tree dogs and bow hunting and whatever, and we'll have those conversations where we're just, talking 2 different points of views or 2 different opinions, we gonna have some secondhand stories that were told by other people to us and have been passed down. I think there's so much wisdom in that, so many personal stories of mine that I'm gonna pass on to y'all that have got a lot of great pieces of knowledge in them as well. Man, I wanted to talk about some historical things. You know, we was talking about George Washington earlier and him being a champion of hunting, especially hound hunting, and him having a hand in implanting those traditions into the region I grew up in. I wanted to talk about something on the other end of the spectrum in this story I'm getting ready to tell you. They was pretty irritated because 100 sheep was like, that's like losing a fleet of sports cars. You know what I mean? Like, some nice sheep back in the day, dog. That was no good. That was your livelihood. You'd have lost 100 sheep. It took a long time to make up 100 sheep, especially if they was good and woolly. Come on. Anyways, I'm just saying, these dudes in this town, they was pretty pissed off because there was a lot of wolves and a lot of bear over there in this area in northeastern Ohio. This was the setting for the Great Hinckley Hunt. And I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but I'm going to tell you a story that's kind of dark. You know, some people celebrate the story. Some people don't celebrate it. I'm kind of in the middle there. I'm like, I think it's kind of awesome at the same time. I think it's kind of a cautionary tale of why we have to have morals and boundaries, because if you are a well-oiled machine and you are somebody who is a huntsman and you are capable of wiping them out, you got to be careful because you could wipe them out. You know, and I'm not saying it's so effective that the human error element is taken out of it. You know, it ain't that. It's just that more times than not, they have great results and great success because they are good. Great, I should say, what they do. And in the same way, the people that came together to get rid of the problem in 1818, but in the 1800s, they had this Great Hinckley Hunt because everybody's pissed off about everybody's sheep and livestock getting eaten up. So they put out a whole ad, paper, whatever. They done put out a whole thing spread across the countryside. Y'all come out here for the great hunt, the Great Hinckley Hunt. They done lined it up and did a man drive and just sandwiched two lines of people together from across a great distance, and they had them all hemmed up. I'm talking about they did the biggest push anybody's ever seen. They killed 21 bear, they killed 17 wolves, over 300 deer. They killed more foxes, raccoons, and other small game like that, probably coyotes and things of that nature, whatever. They said more of them than they could count. I mean, it wasn't good to kill 21 bear. It probably wasn't good to kill 21 bear right there, dude, at all at once. In a 3 mile area or however big that radius was. I'm talking about, dog, they don't wipe them out. And I bet you it was a long time before that population readjusted. Now, that was what they was after. And there was a lot of people that said that there was a lot of camaraderie that came from all these people from all around the hills and stuff coming together and having that much success all at once. And they slapped backs, and I'm sure it would have been something to have been a part of. I mean, it would have been pretty awesome to have seen a hunt with that level of success, especially after having 100 sheep die in one night. That was documented. That's what they said. That's what inspired them to exterminate and get rid of them. And I'm sure they did have great peace for a while and some full bellies, but I'm sure they also all thought, to some extent, dang, maybe we shouldn't have killed quite so many of them. You got 600 people doing a push. They might have had daggum flintlock rifles. They might have had whatever cap and ball. But you talk about 600 people, even with antique old school rifles, they was able to kill 21 bear, big ones, not no little small ones, but big ones. They killed some. One guy said that he shot. They have a personal account. Y'all need to go look this thing up. They got a personal account from one guy who wrote that he killed the biggest bear he'd ever even seen. You know, so they was taking some big game down there at the Great Hinckley Hunt. 600 men got together. Straight up, they had some manpower. They put a whooping on them, and maybe even put a whooping on them too hard, y'all. And I'm as down to get the grease popping as any man. But I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, sometimes we got to draw a hard line. If this is above, if we're taking more than the capacity, the carrying capacity that should be for the land that we know, then we shouldn't do it, because we're not in 1818. We got daggum GPS. We got all kinds of things that these people didn't have. We got repeating rifles. We got all kinds of stuff, y'all. That's what it is. It's different time, different era. We ain't got 100 sheep dying in one night because we done beat them back pretty good like they did back in them days. But that's the length they went to put a hurting on them so that there wasn't 100 sheep dying in one night. So I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm not saying I'm completely for it. I think that, though, they kind of had to look and go, okay, man, yeah, we done that now, but I don't think we can do that again. See what I'm saying here? So, cautionary tale, even as effective as you can be, even with a good group of guys and a pack of dogs, we probably need to not get 600 people and 600 dogs. Because I'm not sure if they use dogs on the Hinckley hunt, but just sheer people in antiquated rifles could put down a huge heap. I'm talking, it's probably somewhere close to 1,000 critters or more in one hunt. You know, that's insane. You know, 300 deer, 21 bear, 17 wolves, and an uncountable number of foxes, raccoons, and other assorted game. So I don't know, man. That's pretty wild. That's a big hunt. That's about the biggest hunt I've ever heard of. Now, I've personally been a part of 2 or 3 hunts that had 50 or better deer shot in one day, you know, and that is typically in 2 or 3 drives. That's a lot of deer to be killing in one day. And I know there's some other people that have killed more, and I've talked to a few guys that have done some special kind of hunts that were just overrun places that just needed management bad, and they shot 60 or better. That's about as most as I've heard of being killed in one day. But I think it might have been 56 was the most we ever killed in one day. And several times we done killed over 50, and I know a lot of times, tons of times, more times than I can count, we done killed 30 plus. If you killed 20 in one day with a small group of guys, sometimes that was more impressive than killing 50 in one day with a ton of guys. You know, I'd say the best that you could get on the day would be for everybody that could legally kill their limit. And if you had about 25 guys and you could kill 50 deer, if everybody shot a buck in a doe or whatever it was, you know, shot their 2 bucks in one doe or however it may be, you could stack them up pretty quick like that. And we'd had some days like that where it wasn't that many guys, wasn't that many dogs, and we shot a big pile of them. And that was pretty prolific to have days like that, and to still have a couple days out of the season every year where we bust them up real bad and kill 30 to 50 deer. And a couple days we'd do that in a row sometimes still too. So that's pretty cool, man. Not a whole lot of folks doing that number wise anymore. But I tell people all the time, I say, man, I done killed more deer than any of these people. You know, because when we go out there and hunt, we hunt as a team. And it's like, if you shot the big buck, I killed the big buck. it might be on your wall, but I jumped him up. I also wanted to jump him up, and you shot him, but that was your job to shoot him. You see what I'm saying? So it's all a big team. All a big team. The dogs are just as much of a team member as we, the people, are with each other. You know, the guy in the briar patch running the deer to the jumping the deer for the dogs, or running the deer to the guy outside of the briar patch. You know, we all are having these roles, and we're all working together as a team. Sometimes the dog, if I don't jump the deer up, man, he might not have nothing to run. You know, sometimes that dog's too stupid to figure out where that deer is laid up. I got to get in there and find him, jump him up. If I can't shoot him right there on the ground, staple him up, it's too thick or something. That dog, he'll get up on there, carry him out. You killed him. You killed him. Well, hey, man, we all killed him. How many deer did we, that's what they say, how many deer did we kill today? I don't know, 40, 50 of them. They didn't say, hey, how many deer did you kill today? We all got one. We all got some. We all got something, because we all killed. Everybody killed. We all killed. We killed a pile of them. You know, you killed, I killed. You jumped it, I jumped it. You shot it, I shot it. It doesn't matter. At certain points, like when we pull back up, there's 50 deer to skin, and we're all slapping backs, high-fiving, and carrying on. But there ain't a whole lot of that beforehand. It's all, everybody looks like they about to get in a Mexican standoff and have a shootout, and everybody's sitting there twitching, getting ready to go to their spot. Oh yeah, I'm going to this spot. Everybody go to this. Next thing you know, they look like they're all about to fight it out, and then we kill them all and come back here and go, yeah, we're all best friends. You got daggone about it. This guy don't even know this guy. We're laughing, telling stories, and cutting up and whatever. Slapping backs, bye, yeah, this thing come over the cross cutter and go, bye. That guy cut a backflip and freaking run over top of the other guy on stand, and he didn't have no more shells. And, you know, they just, it's funny. It's like all of a sudden they serious as a heart attack. We do the work, and we come back, and we all have fun. And I like to hunt with guys like that. I'm not saying I don't hunt with some other kinds of groups of guys. Some of them sit around and talk half the morning, don't get to hunt. Y'all know about that too. But anyhow, I like to hunt with guys that are serious about it, and that have that capability to really manage the population and really be truly good stewards of the land, and do the same thing year after year after year after. And there's something to that success and that consistency. You know, and it's deeper than just being good at what you do. It's also being a good man, and being good men, and being people that are, you know, comrades. You know, the camaraderie, man, it plays into it, because if you don't have camaraderie, you just got a club where people pay $700 and they show up, you know, and you got to beg them to do 1 or 2 work days or whatever, come over there and cut some trails or something like that. When it's a group of 40, 50 deer a day killing people, they coming over there to do work days, because they want to go figure out what spot that they go sit on and kill that big buck this year. You know, you don't have to tell them. They're passionate about it. They're putting the work in. They're doing the conservation. They know. They're the ones that can tell you, yeah, we shoot 30 to 40 in this one spot. We shoot 15 to 20 every year on this 300, 400 acres or whatever. And they've looked a little bit beyond what most people are going to, kind of at a glance glean from it. And yeah, it's not that in depth for everybody, but these daggum people on the thing talk about thermals and everything like that. I got buddies that laugh and climb 40 feet up a tree, smoke Marlboros and drink Bud Lights and stuff. Not to saying you should do that or whatever, but back in early late 90s or whatever, that's what these fools did. They climbed up the climber 40 feet with a Bud Light and a Marlboro Light, and they killed deer. And people said they didn't. I can show you a rack full of racks in the top of the barn. Yeah, they don't know. They either know or they don't know nothing about that. That's what it is, y'all. You know I ain't lying. Now, what else can I ramble about here before we get out of our introductory episode? You know, we've been talking about it. You got to put the work in. You got to make the time. Well, I think that's where we bring God back into the conversation, because if we don't take the time to read our Bible, if we don't take the time to pray, if we don't take the time and we don't make the time for God in the midst of all the distractions in our lives, then we ain't doing it right, y'all. We ain't going to become hunters of God. We're not going to be seeking God like the Bible teaches us to truly seek and to hunt Him. Oh man, we're going to have successes and we're going to have failures. We're going to have times where we don't give Him enough. I heard an odd stat the other day and I was like, man, is that for real? And it was like 14 minutes and 25 seconds is 1% of your day. Whoa! So you mean to tell me that essentially 15 minutes, just about 15 minutes is 1% of the day? So if you can't read your Bible for 15 minutes, or you couldn't pray 5 minutes a day 3 times and give God 1% of your life, what are you doing? That's what this person said. I go, whoa, that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy, because it's right. It's true. If I can't give God more than 1% of my day, what am I doing? Now that I've had cameras die, lights go out, and everything else, like I said earlier, y'all, I ain't no technological master or nothing, but I know who the master of all masters is, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, and He requires you to seek Him. He requires you to hunt Him up. See, He's hunting you right now. He's hunting you. He might even be using me to do it, but He has been hunting you and chasing you your whole life, whether you realize it or not, because you have a relationship with God, whether you choose to accept it or not. Since you were formed in your mother's womb, God knew you. Since before then, He knew that you were going to become you, and that He had a purpose and a calling for your life even then, before anything even came forth. Man, that's powerful. So, all right, check it out. If it is like this, and we've got a God that loves us since before we came into the world, and He knew us and had this grand design and this plan and this purpose, okay, and He's chasing us throughout our lives until we come to Him. When we decide to live our lives for Jesus, He wants us to chase Him the same way that He has chased us, and that He's yearned for some sort of working relationship with us, where we serve Him and we obey what He says. Do what He says. Fulfill your purpose for your life that He has for you. Now, you got to work for it. You got to hunt. Hunting is not easy. It can be every once in a while, but it's not easy. If it was, just like having them out there in the woods, tying them up to the tree, go out there and whack a stake, it would be like raising livestock. And I guess some people can create a scenario where it's kind of like that, growing deer utopia 5000. But y'all, it's not quite the same. We have to go hunt these deer in the middle of the wild country. Ain't nobody got them tied up to a tree. It's going to take a little bit of work. We're going to have to put the work in, y'all. We got to spend time reading our Bible. We got to spend time talking to God. We got to spend time getting to know what He wants us to do on the day. There's going to be people that He wants you to speak to. There's going to be somebody He wants you to pray for. There's going to be something He wants you to do. And if you ain't starting your day talking to Him, you ain't giving 14 minutes and 25 seconds, that's 1% of your day. If you ain't giving Him that, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? Now, check it out. You could say, well, JJ, none of that means nothing to me, because I'm not there at that point in my life yet where I've done accepted all that, and I don't even know how I'd get to a point to where I'd get to all that. You got to challenge God. And how do you do that? You say these words right here. You say, make yourself apparent in my life, God. That's what you do. Jesus, make yourself apparent in my life. If you can do that, if you can pray that prayer, you are effectively asking and giving God, you're giving God a challenge. Show up in my life. Now, he'll never not show up. So when he does, and he's not going to just do it once, he's going to show up over and over and over again, because us as humans, we're too stubborn and we're stupid. A lot of times we see something and we almost died in this car wreck and we got out of it and the Lord blessed us and we go, oh man, that was crazy. That was almost like a God thing. Nah, that wasn't. I got out of that myself. And that's what we do. We rationalize these things that God does for us in our lives and saves us. We might have to get in a car accident, and then your daddy almost dies in 1 week, and then your company almost crashes, and then it comes back around. It's like you're gonna have several things happen, because God is gonna make no doubt that when he shows up, you gonna know it. And if he thinks that you're doubting it, or you do doubt it, he gonna show up again. He's been chasing you this long. You don't think that he's gonna make it undeniable? If you would just ask him to show up and make himself apparent in your life, he will. Every time. I've never seen him one time have I ever told somebody, hey man, all right, you ready to pray this prayer? And they said, yeah man, we came to you, we're ready, man. Let's go ahead. Okay. All right, let's do it. Pray the prayer. What happens? Without fail, every single time, God shows up. Now, not all the time do people choose to serve him. Sometimes it freaks them out. A lot of people freaks them out for a while before they go, okay, all right, I'm ready, JJ. I'm ready to take the next step in how do I make Jesus the Lord of my life? And I say, dude, just be ready. You ready for your life to get a little more difficult? They go, what do you mean? What do you mean, JJ? I'm just now coming around to where I'm going to make Jesus the Lord of my life. I'm going, yeah, okay, get ready. Because if you're going to, and you're going to pray that prayer, it's going to get more difficult before it gets easier. You're not going to get the fake crap version. You listening to me, I'm going to tell you the real version. The devil don't got to give you that hard of a time until you really start trying to seek Jesus. And when you try to seek Jesus, you're going to have all kinds of people try to cut you down. You're going to have all these friends that you had. They're going to leave you. There's going to be people in your life that you thought was good for you. All of a sudden, they just toxic. And you're going to see all the demons and all the devil working his way to just try to separate you and get you back to where when you wasn't doing this and you wasn't trying to see God and you wasn't trying to have a relationship with him, everything was just, it was between the mustard and the mayonnaise. And man, I just should have just kept doing that. Should just kept doing that, man. That's what it's going to have you thinking. It's going to have, all this crap's going to have you thinking, man, dadgummit. But you got to understand that before you go in it. You got to say, okay, if I'm going to make Jesus the Lord of my life, it's not going to make my life easier. It's going to make my life more difficult in a lot of ways. But it's going to make my life more rewarding. It's not easy to consistently kill big bucks in dog hunting country. It ain't easy to kill big bucks in dog country. It ain't easy. Just like it's not easy to be a Christian in a world full of heathens. But here's the thing. When you go out there and you're a light, you got to be a light in the darkness. So if there wasn't a lot of darkness around, how could we really shine a light? And how could we make a difference? How could people really see the difference between dark and light if there wasn't darkness? We got to challenge God. We got to flip the light switch, man, to begin with. We got to flip this light switch. We got to say, make yourself apparent in my life. And that, hey, if you flip that light switch and you paid the power bill and, hey, man, the light comes on. We tried it. We flipped it. Well, that's what you got to do. You got to challenge God. You got to flip the light. Make sure that light comes on. And when you do, then you can really believe in it. Okay, I flipped the switch. It works. I believe it. I believe that when I turn it off and I flip it again, it's going to still work. That's how it works, y'all. You got to challenge God. Flip the light switch. Now you know it works. Okay, now you've got a decision. Are you going to serve him? Are you going to do what he asks you to do? How do you figure out that? Read the Word of God. Pray. You got the Holy Spirit that sets up shop on the inside of you. God comes to live on the inside of you when you make him the Lord of your life. And he answers. He responds. He might give you a Bible verse. He might speak to you on your innermost being. He might speak to you audibly. God uses all kinds of methods to talk to you directly, but they all come from spending time with him. And they all come from walking with him daily. You know, you got to put him first. There's going to be times where so many distractions are vying for our attention, and we just can't give God just 1%, just 14 minutes and 25 seconds a day. Oh, man. So start your day with reading the Word of God. Start your day after you've made Jesus the Lord of your life and you believe in him and you trust in him. Start your day in the Word of God. The Bible tells us to put on the whole armor of God, and that's what we have to do because we're in a battle. And if we are going out there in the woods and we are going elk hunting and we have forgotten our tent and we've forgotten all of our calories and we've forgotten all of our fire starters and all of our ammunition and we don't have no gun and what are we doing, man? We're up there at 11,000 feet bird watching? No, you're a fool. Mountain lion gonna eat you. You gonna break your leg off in the boulder field. Something's gonna happen because you weren't prepared and you weren't paying attention and you thought you could get by because you're super big elk killer 5,000. And that's what it is. I'm so great. Me. I can do it by myself on my own. I am God. Me. See how that it's out of control all of a sudden. We think we got this until you don't. Then what are you going to do when you're stuck up there on the side of the mountain by yourself? Well, we have a tendency to when, everybody's Superman until they get hurt. And when they get hurt and nobody can bail them out, then that's when they start going, Lord, help me. And he might help you because he's a merciful God, but he might not. He might go, okay, well, you ain't gonna die. We're gonna let you sit out there for 4 days, and next time you're gonna know when I tell you not to go do something, don't go do it. I've had that a few times. I've had to where I had to take it on the chin because God told me over and over and over again, and I didn't want to listen. I didn't want to hear it. I can do this. I had a dog bite me in the freaking face one night because I should have hung it up, and there was more signs that I should have hung it up than anything else. Probably, I don't know. I think I made 6 den trees that night, and it was just too cold, and all the raccoons was on the inside of the tree. But I really wanted to get this feller a raccoon, and he was coming up this hill, and I'd about killed him. He was a city feller, nice guy though, and he sure wanted to go coon hunting. He'd been one other time, and we didn't have a good hunt that time either. And so I was working real hard to try to get him a raccoon. And we'd made 6 trees. This was the 6th tree. He's still coming up the hill, but me and my buddy, we'd already run up there, and I got up there and looking around. Man, that thing is a big old den tree. But I bet you he's up there on top of that squirrel's nest. I'm shooting into the squirrel's nest just to see if I can get him to shimmy around. And I don't hear no thwop. Don't see nothing moving around. And I'm mad. I'm irritated. And I'm going, dadgummit, and all the stuff falling out the tree. And the dog is just treated so hard. Jamming, dude. I said, he ain't up there, man. Come on. And I reached over there and grabbed that collar, which the dog knew the coon was in the den. That dog, he didn't treat no junk, and he was a coon dog. So I shouldn't even said it like that, but I was frustrated, like he didn't show me a coon on the outside. And I snatched the dog by the collar to go leash him up. But I forgot that the dog's blind on that side. And in my little blind rage, I grabbed the blind dog on the wrong side as there's stuff falling out of the tree that I just shot up into this squirrel's nest, thinking that sneaky coon was hiding on top of the squirrel's nest, because they do that sometimes. and all the stuff falling out, and it's smacking him in the face, and this old blind dog, and I grab a hold of it and turns around and crunches me, thinking I'm the coon. Bit me square across the face, ripped my eye. I'm talking about blood everywhere, and my eyes squirting out like a fountain, and that dog, he bit me, and I felt him crunch down on my face and shake just a little bit, and I could feel them bones in my face and my cheek joggling. Ooh! And just as soon as he grabbed a hold of it and crunched down, I immediately felt him let go. Like, that ain't the coon. And he turned right around and went right back to treeing. I thought, Lord have mercy, my eyeballs done come out. He's done ripped my eyeball out. And of course, my buddy that's right there, that dog done bit you. He done bit you. I'm going, yeah, duh, he done bit me. Are you kidding me? No. He done bit me. Yeah, now can you tell me whether or not my eyeball's hanging out? Woo! I'm telling you something right now. That ain't a situation you want to be in. Hey, man, can you tell me when my eyeball's hanging out? And he's sitting there going, the dog bit you. I'm going, oh, no, dude. He's shell-shocked more than I am. Just tell me whether or not my eyeball's hanging out. No, I don't think it is. No, but you're bleeding really bad. I'm going, man, this ain't good. I got somebody who's a veteran. They worried for me. Yeah, man. So by the time my buddy that we was trying to get him a coon comes up the hill, he's going, man, we got the coon. I'm going, no, come on, man. We got to go. The dog done ripped half my face off. We got to go to the hospital to get some stitches. He going, ain't no way. Are you kidding me? I'm going, yep. Unless you want to put this dog back in the dog box, you go keep going and go down the hill. I said, I'm sorry. I hate I done walked your guts out for nothing. I said, I done made a mistake, man. I got frustrated and grabbed this dog on the wrong side, and he done ripped my face up. So I got to go to the hospital. So we walked off that mountain, mile and a half, made it back to the daggum side by side, and I was not thrilled to have to pick that dog up and stick him in the dog box, even though I knew it was my fault and whatever. The backstory on that dog was he looked like he whooped every single person in a prison fight. Never lost one patches. He was a bad dude. And all the people that was hunting around them parts, they was all scared of him, and all had a chance to get a hold of him, and they'd keep him for a little while, and he'd scare them, do something, and they said, no, he ain't for me. And me and that dog, we became friends, because when I got offered the dog, I said, oh yeah, I like the way that dog looks. He's tough, man. That thing, he's an old coon dog. I like him. A walker dog. Thing had a head on it like a 5-gallon bucket. And the old boy's daddy said, you want to come get this dog? I know you like this dog. They all scared of it. I said, no, I'll take that dog. And first thing I did is I called and ordered a pizza right before I went over there and picked him up. When I put him up there in that van, and he looked at me shaking in the back of the car. Well, he pulled up to that pizza place, and I let that pizza box open, and he crawled out there and finally got him some of that meat lover's pizza. Next thing you know, I turned him loose. I drove him about an hour down the road, and I just dumped him straight out the pizza box into the woods. He went up there, screamed up the mountain. Oh! He screamed up the mountain, boy. He got to the top of that thing. I'm like, yeah, you got a coon up there, boy. I know you got a coon up there. Shoot, I went up there. He had the meat. Big old 20-pound raccoon. I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Woo, meat lovers pizza for the win. So that was some of the backstory of that dog. Everybody was terrified. They'd go to reach in there and get him out of the box, and because he had blind eye on one side, he hit that low ground. They'd be like, man, I don't like this thing. He gonna eat me up. He was a big dog. He's 100 plus pounds. He was a 5-gallon bucket head clover-breaded walker. Woo, old clover-bred walker. Yeah. Yeah, he come from some good coon stock, and that dog was bad to the bone. So everybody said, After that dog bit me, everybody said, man, you ought to kill that dog. He ain't no good for nothing but a piece of lead. I said, ain't no way. That dog's a coon dog. I said, you just got to have somebody that's gritty and that don't hunt with no kids. I hunt with kids, so I couldn't keep the dog. I'm like, I can't have that. Can't have somebody else that's a kid make a mistake because he don't know nothing about no blind eye and he goes to pet the dog and gets bit or something like that. Dog's getting old too, so he probably wasn't all aware of everything, but I got him to somebody who wasn't afraid of him and wanted to hunt him and don't hunt with no kids, so he's willing to take the risk. He knew he'd rip my face halfway off and he still wanted the dog so he could have him. But yeah, I mean, some people don't want something like that, but that's what you want between you and a daggone mountain lion. Go on! Yeah, you ever seen a raccoon tear somebody up too pretty good? You want one to crunch a raccoon too, I'll tell you. Yeah. Old Patches. But to get back to the moral of the story, it was sometimes we get frustrated and we get blinded by our own frustrations and fury and then the next thing you know, the Lord, He allows us. It's not that He creates the scenarios. Shoot, we create the scenarios a lot of times. We mess up, man. We get mad at what happens in life. And then next thing you know, when it's not going right, we pitch us a fit. And God goes, okay, you still don't want to listen to what I told you to give it up a long time ago. You won't go on the third tree. You should have figured it out that you ain't going to tree none on the outside tonight. Here you are at the sixth tree. You still don't want to learn. Okay, well, let's see what your blind frustration leads to. Hospital visit. You calling your lady at 3:30 in the morning going, honey, I hate to wake you up. What's wrong? What's going on? Hey, well, everything's okay. I'm going to be all right. But, I'm going to have to get you to get up and make yourself some coffee and go to drive me down there to the hospital. Just come on down here and meet me at the farm. I can get you to take me to the hospital. So then all of a sudden I got to inconvenience her, wake her up in the middle of the night. And she loves me a lot, so she did it. But, she wasn't too happy about it. So you have all these scenarios that are created because you did something foolish simply because God told you not to do it or not to keep after things that you shouldn't be after. Tonight, you should have been satisfied with the den trees. Tonight, you should have been satisfied not getting a deer. Tonight, you should have been satisfied not getting the thing that you prayed for. God knows what we need, and sometimes what we need is life to beat us down a little bit so that we can see how much we need to trust Him. See how much we need to depend on God to provide for us. See how much we need to forgive other people so that we can get the forgiveness that we need from God. Woo! I ain't planning on preaching it, y'all. Just saying there once in a while. Once in a while, you got to bring God into the conversation. Now, there's a couple things that I'm going to start doing for these episodes. At the end of these episodes, I'm going to start taking some of the sponsors that I have for this show and their products and making my viewers familiar with what they got. Because if you're going to sponsor my podcast and work with me, it's because you got a great product and it's because you've got some sort of connection with me in the first place. Whether you're a fan of my music and you met me that ways and you was kind to me and you sewed into my life, or whether I liked what you had and said, hey man, I'd love to buy that product, and you said, no, don't worry about it, I'm going to send it to you. There's a bunch of people that were just kind, and God, used that interaction between me and them to start some sort of thing, and the next thing you know, hey, now I've got an opportunity where I can show good people that love what I do and love listening to, how God's changed my life and how I love country music and I love hunting with dogs and I'm proud to be an American and all this stuff. God's using all these things that I'm talking about to also give me a platform to talk about the people that have sown into my life that are also people that follow God and that have a business that's built on integrity and great products and great services here in America by people that are our second, third generation guide service, or this person over here makes products and is a real trapper. We're going to highlight these businesses and these people that said, JJ, I'd love to sew into what you're doing. My name is JJ Lawhorn, and this is the Huntsman Podcast, powered by Bird Dog Mafia, Phillips Outdoors, and Ancient Footwear. Thank y'all for tuning into this week's episode of the Huntsman Podcast. I hope that y'all enjoyed it, and I hope that you'll join us again next week. It's gonna be a good one. Now, lock in with me on social media at the Huntsman Podcast and at JJ Lawhorn Music for all the wild stuff. If you like what you heard, man, and you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. Please share, push the little thumbs up button, and also please comment underneath this video. Let me know what you want to learn about, what you want to hear more of, and who you want to see in future episodes. If you got a little time, go down there to jjlawhorn.com, get you a Blaze Orange ball cap or some good merch. Might just save your life, you never know. And also, I got to say, until next time, Jesus is King, God bless America, and keep your powder dry. Come on.